Good morning and welcome to First Universalist of Rochester, where we are called to nurture the spirit and serve the community. Whoever you are welcome here. Wherever you come from, you are welcome here. Whomever you love, you are welcome here. Whatever your relationship to the earth and its care, you are welcome here. All of you is welcome here. It is good to be together this morning. I am not Reverend Lane-Mairead Campbell, as in your order of service. I am Reverend Michelle Yates, your Minister of Lifespan Faith Development. Unfortunately, Reverend Lane-Mairead is ill today, not COVID so far, but thus, lots of well wishes to them. We acknowledge with respect the Seneca Nation, keepers of the western door and part of the Haudenosaunee people, on whose ancestral lands First Universalist now stands. Welcome to First Universalist Church, where we are worshiping in a new way, practically weekly. We are a community of seekers both online and in person, and we are choosing to worship in person with masks on. We have both physically distant options for folks to sit, as well as options that allow for more closeness. This is a new arrangement. Let us know what you think. If you are here for the first time this morning, we especially welcome you. Thank you for making it to a worshiping community today. We have a visitor's form that can be found in the chat for our folks online, and that can be found in your order of service for folks in person. Please fill out the form so we can offer you a welcome beyond this worship service. I'd like to make a special invitation to those of you who are new to First Universalist to join us on Saturday, April 30th from 9:30 a.m. to 12 noon for our Path to Membership class, a space to learn more about our church and what being a member here is all about. There's more information in your order of service. Before we take a moment to turn to our neighbor, let us take a moment to turn towards the camera where Emma is to greet our online worshiping community. Offer a wave. Hello. If you are online, please pop into the chat to offer a greeting and to share your joys and sorrows. If you are here at First Universalist, let us take a moment to turn to our neighbor this morning and offer a greeting. Please respect people's physical distance and obtain consent before reaching out for a handshake or hug. You can always do an elbow bump. And it's funny, actually, Lane-Mairead was wondering, oh, you're in the state cousin. Was wondering what's going on. Let us come back together to sing our opening hymn, number 21, For the Beauty of the Earth.
As some of you know, my daughters both majored in environmental science in college. Perhaps they were making up for me. I've spent my whole career developing computer technology and asking myself with increasing urgency over the years why I haven't been focusing instead on how to save the Earth. For truly, the Earth needs saving. In just this 1 century, we're likely to exterminate half the species on the planet, raise the average temperature enough to completely change the habitat of every other species, and past the point at which there are more tons of plastic than fish in the ocean. There are so many causes to worry about. Racial injustice, economic disparity, social polarization, the war in Ukraine, the erosion of voting rights, the decline of democracy. So many causes. And none of them will matter if we destroy the only planet we have. It's easy to despair. We need hope, but hope is thin on the ground. We need energy, and yet we're all exhausted. We need allies, and so many people seem simply to be out for themselves. We need faith in our ability to make a difference. Because we really do have the ability, we in the sense of the whole human race together, we have everything we need to save the Earth and save ourselves. The only real question is whether we will choose to do so. And so we begin with ourselves. We need hope, and when we need it, may we find it in this church. When we need energy, may we find it here as well. And when we need allies, may this be a place to find and to sustain them. Let us worship together. Would one need of all please come forward to light the flaming chalice? As Juanita lights the chalice here in our sanctuary, and as many of you do so in your own homes, will you join me in saying our chalice words in unison? May we be a people of welcome, here to grow in heart and mind and spirit. May we reach out to serve our community. Please rise now in body or in spirit and join me in our affirmation of faith, followed by the doxology. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament. Service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony, the source and meaning of God. Thus do we covenant with each other and with all. When I was thinking this week about offertory words that would touch on both nature and giving, I kept coming back to Shel Silverstein's story of the giving tree. Many of you may know the book. It's a perennial favorite about a selfless tree that gives its leaves and shade, its fruit and branches, and ultimately everything it has to a selfish boy who becomes a selfish man. Maybe you can tell, I really hate that book. It's the perfect metaphor for dysfunctional relationships and for humanity's relationship with nature in particular. How refreshing then to go to a church where people don't contribute out of guilt or obligation or self-sacrifice, but out of a deep and joyful commitment to shared ideals. The offering in a liberal church is exactly that, a symbol of the larger gifts of time and energy and money that sustain this community and advance its mission in the wider world. If you're a visitor this morning, please feel free as our guest to let the basket pass or join us as you will in this ritual of shared devotion. If you'd like to give online, please scan the QR code in your order of service or click on the link in the Zoom chat window. You can also, of course, send a check at this point. The offering will now be given and gratefully received.
It's exploding, violence flaring, bullets loaded. You're old enough to kill, not enough of both. You don't believe in war, but what that gun you're toting? Even the Jordan River, bodies floating, and you tell me over and over and over again, my friend, I wish you don't believe. We're on the eve of destruction. Don't understand what I'm trying to say. Can't you feel the fear I'm feeling today? If the button's pushed, there's no running away. There'll be no one to save when the world is afraid. Take a look around you, boy. It's bound to scare you, boy, and you tell me over and over and over again, my friend, I don't believe you're on the eve of destruction. Yeah, my blood's so mad, it's coagulating. I'm sitting here just contemplating. I can't twist the truth, it knows no regulation. A handful of senators can't pass legislation, and marches alone can't bring integration. When human respect is disintegrating, this whole crazy world just too frustrating. And you tell me over and over and over again, my friend, I wish you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction. Think of all the hate there is in Red China. Take a look around this Selma, Alabama. You leave here for days out in space, and when you return, it's the same old place. The pounding of the drums, pride and disgrace. You can bury your dead, but don't leave a trace. Hate your next door neighbor, don't forget to say grace. And you tell me over and over and over again, my friend, we're on the eve of destruction. Yes, you tell me over and over and over again, my friend. Yes, we can believe we're on the eve of destruction.
Our story today is Desmond Gets Free by Matt Meyer, illustrated by Kim Pham, and embodying a quote by Archbishop Desmond Tutu. Desmond Gets Free. Desmond the mouse lived in the most beautiful meadow in all the land. Every morning, Desmond woke with the sunshine and would spend the day playing in the meadow. Every evening, Desmond would go to sleep in the middle of the meadow under the beautiful starry sky. One night, though, Desmond awoke when it was still dark out, and he tried to roll over to a more comfortable spot, but something wasn't right. Desmond realized that his tail was stuck right to the ground and beginning to throb with pain. He felt behind him, and there was a huge boulder that seemed to have fallen in the middle of the meadow, just on his tail. Desmond pushed on the boulder and tugged on his tail. Pushed on the boulder and tugged on his tail. He pushed and tugged and pushed and tugged. It was no use. When he was out of breath and had just about given up, he saw a giraffe nearby in the grass. Oh, good news, he thought. Oh, giraffe, Desmond cried. Could you please push the boulder a few inches to the other direction so that I could go free? The giraffe looked at Desmond and laughed the way giraffes do. Silly mouse, said the giraffe. That's no boulder. That's an elephant that has fallen asleep in the middle of the meadow just on your tail. Well, if you could wake the elephant and ask him to roll over just a few inches to the other direction, I could go free. Well, replied the giraffe, you know what they say about letting sleeping elephants fly. I find it's best not to get involved in other animals' business. I find it's best to remain neutral in times like this. Desmond quietly replied, well, I do not appreciate your neutrality. The giraffe wandered off, and Desmond tried calling out to the elephant to wake him. But those elephant ears were just too far on the other side of the giant elephant's body to hear him. So again, Desmond pushed on the elephant, tugged on his tail. He pushed and he tugged, he pushed and he tugged. But it was no use. When he was out of breath and had just about given up again, a gazelle wandered by. Oh, gazelle, he cried, oh, gazelle. It seems that an elephant has fallen asleep just on my tail in the middle of this meadow. I'm stuck. It hurts. I wonder if you could gently wake him and ask him politely to roll over just a few inches in the other direction so I might go. Well, said the gazelle, I see your problem there. But you know what they say about letting sleeping elephants lie. I find it's best to not get involved in other animals' business. I find it's best to remain neutral at times like this. Desmond replied, almost to himself this time, I do not appreciate your neutrality. Desmond tried to call out to the elephant, tried again to push the giant animal away. Tried again and again to tug his tail free, but it was no use. When he was out of breath and had just about given up the last time, he saw another mouse wandering through the meadow. My name is Nelson. Nelson, this giant elephant has fallen asleep just on my tail in the middle of this meadow. I wonder if you might run over and call out to his giant ears and ask him to roll over just a few inches so that I could get free, Desmond asked. Of course, said Nelson. Nelson ran all the way to the other end of that giant elephant body and called up to those giant elephant ears at the top of that giant elephant head. The elephant didn't budge. The elephant heard Nelson's small voice far away. He felt too comfortable to move. Nelson ran back to Desmond, a little out of breath, and said, I have an idea. Don't move. He ran off. I won't, said Desmond. A little while later, though, Nelson emerged through the tall grass and wasn't alone. He found 3 other mouse friends to help him, and each one of them brought 3 other of their friends. The whole group of them ran over to the giant head of that giant elephant. One mouse scrambled up under the shoulders of the other, and the other mouse scrambled up on their shoulders. One after another they climbed until the whole group of them had formed a long mouse ladder right up to the side of that elephant. These were acrobatic mice. At last, Nelson climbed up the shoulders of his mouse friends onto the top of the other until he was at the giant elephant head standing next to the giant elephant ear. "Excuse me," he called right into that ear. "It seems you've fallen asleep on my friend's tail in the middle of the meadow. I wonder if you could just roll over a few inches in the other direction so that he might go free." The giant elephant made a low groan. "Grumph. I'm comfortable just where I am. Go away." So Nelson asked more of his mouse friends to climb up. One by one, they climbed each other up the side of the elephant. One by one, they called out into the giant elephant ear on top of the giant elephant head. And again, the giant elephant made a low groan. "Grumph. I'm comfortable just where I am. Go away." Then Nelson had an idea. He whispered to the mice, and then all at once they yelled out together. This is coordination. "Excuse us! It seems you've fallen asleep on our friend's tail in the middle of this meadow. Roll over a few inches in the other direction so he can go free." You think saying our affirmation of faith all together is hard with words in front of you. This time, all those voices together, right next to the elephant's ear, were too loud to ignore. "I was comfortable where I was, but I'll move over if you agree to stop making such a racket," the elephant cried out. And then the elephant rolled over just a few inches in the other direction. Nelson and the other mice helped each other climb back down, and Desmond was finally free. Desmond and Nelson and all their mouse friends spent the rest of that beautiful day playing in the middle of that beautiful meadow. Quote from Archbishop Desmond Tutu: "If you are neutral in situations of injustice, if you have chosen, then you have chosen the side of the oppressor. If an elephant has its foot on the tail of a mouse, and you say you are neutral, the mouse will not appreciate your neutrality." Give a moment for kiddos who want to go up to child here today. Fun and book guidance and adults. I invite you into this reverent fun of sharing the joys and sorrows of our gathered community. If you would like to, you can place your hand over your heart to be able to listen from this heart-centered place. As we place stones into the bowl, I will read aloud the joys and sorrows of the gathered community. All are invited to share the joys and sorrows of the chat that we may hear from each other. Joy from G0. My results from a COVID home test were negative. Good thing, because I've been with my wonderful grandkids this week, helping out as Heidi and Em get ready to return to work for having the twins. A joy from Steve Searles, the members of First Universalist, whose compassion and support for me has been a blessing and never forgotten. Steve's one of these ways. A sorrow from John Pelosi, the mother of my neighbor, Jeff Tucker, needs our prayers now. She is currently hospitalized with a stroke. A sorrow from G0. I had been sick for about 3 weeks with some GI issues, teeth, and thus have missed some Sunday services. Sorrow from Karen Clark, who mourned the death of Libby Hodges' grandmother, Mike Harrison, who died on the night. The funeral was last Saturday, attended by her watch. A joy sorrow from joylessness, asking for healing energy, prayers for family. My former husband has had debility and stroke and is in the hospital at San Jose. My daughter and son are needing support, so I'll be going to them. And finally, a sorrow on behalf of our First Universalist Church. For many years, Chuck, the provider, Sunday actually was in horrific car accident 2 weeks. She is currently in a coma at Strong Hospital. As she always is, giving and loving to everyone, she asked to be informed. The family is looking to make the rest of their lives this weekend. Sunday was a bright spot in our community, life of our children. As I find information about the service to celebrate her life, and who dropped the final stone to the world to represent all the joys and sorrows that are spoken in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts. They all held in the heart. Today, we light a white candle to acknowledge that we are a community affected by the grief, loss, fear of living through a pandemic. May this candle's flame hold our experiences around this horrific disease. May its light be beacon of hope, a reminder that we are not. Prayer today comes from the spell or what must it be like to carry every moment, being divine, lift us, light, hold us, offer everything, fractal patterns, chaos, such genius, glorious. To swallow the sun creates sustenance, and then be told we want. What must it feel like to be reached into for stones and precious, pumped in black water, and everything from each breath, each grain of salt or sand, each blade of grass or steel, each creature singular or multitudinous, took from before time till this instant ground. What must it feel like to be offered one day a year, when you did every inch, every rotation, to all that moves towards life, every ritual of gratitude is too small, a quick flame against a star in the sky, compared to the gifts of earth, moon, breath, sunrise, the chance. Know this, some of us love you, we worship you, we know you as our eternal home. Some of us remember, we receive, we are so satisfied with being on perfect plan. Some of us fighting you, some of us we celebrate every single nurture. Please join us for our hymn of contemplation, Spirit of Life, number 120.
Our reading this morning is from Joanna Fontaine. And the day came when finally they put down their burdens, and they said, "That's enough." The moment was full of sorrow, but also relief. Arms exhausted from carrying the burden of trying to entice, persuade people to be more compassionate and wise. They continued their own work of building a world more just, but were freer, lighter. The responsibility for others' thoughts was gone. They talked through their actions for anyone willing to read their lives. You can see them now at work in the daytime, singing and laughing in the evenings. Ask for their views, and they'll give a mysterious smile. You can join them, you know, but you cannot fight them, for they just continue on their way, doing the work that is theirs to do. They do not seek your agreement, your approbation. When they encounter an obstacle, they find a way over it. I've never seen people who work so hard, so intense.
My apologies to those who are online and having trouble hearing me. I believe it is no secret. First, I want to own that Reverend Lane-Mairead wrote this sermon, and I am simply reading it. So while I will certainly pass on any feedback to them in the receiving line later, all the credit goes to Lane-Mairead. I believe it is no secret to any one of us in this room that our earth is hurting. We here are familiar with the reasons for Earth Day, familiar with the need to celebrate the earth and all of its beauty, familiar with the way that the earth provides for us and sustains us, familiar with the myriad of ways that we are out of right relationship with the earth. Today, I am not here to rail you with a laundry list of things you could be doing. The elephant in our room, or even the elephant on the mouse's tail, is already here. We as human beings are already in a mode of destruction toward the earth, both individually and collectively. I believe so many of us feel shame about that. So I believe so many of us want to change, yet feel helpless. I believe we have expelled a lot of energy attempting to convince others of what they should be doing. The burden sits heavy with us, mobilizing us, like Desmond the mouse. The elephant is too large to move on our own. Even together, we are able to move the elephant just a few inches. So that perhaps a few aspects of our earth can be better tended to, so that those who we hope to free can get freed. Climate apocalypse is huge, and there are things that we can do to prolong the time that this planet remains inhabitable. But the conclusion has already been written. I wish the story would be different. We Unitarian Universalists, and especially Universalists, are people who believe in love's transforming power. We believe in love at the center of all that we do. It is out of that love that we advocate for our earth. It is out of love that we do our best to be in better right relationship with the earth. It is out of love that we challenge oppressive powers, acting as the elephant, sitting on the mouse's tail, organizing, strategizing, doing our best to move the dial just a bit so that more can live, so that our earth can be respected just that much. I saw a quote going around a few circles on Earth Day from, and forgive me if I'm pronouncing incorrectly, Ziwe Famuda, a political comedian and satirist. They say, wild, that climate change is a group project where everyone drowns if 6 rich kids don't do the reading. I'll read that again, because wow. Wild, that climate change is a group project where everyone drowns if 6 rich kids don't do the reading. And here we are, many of us, the other kids in the group project, resentful, hopeful that they will actually come prepared, disappointed each time when these 6 rich kids come, yet again, not having done their homework. It is likely we will drown because of it. A very broad and wide we, remembering that those who are most on the margins, those living in globalized poverty, have been bearing the brunt of destruction many of us in developed nations have caused. On a global scale, likely we are the rich kids. I know the desire to numb myself to it. I know it in my bones. In the same way that when mass violence happens, again, I want to numb myself to it. When the news of rates of COVID transmission going up comes across my screen, I want again to numb myself to the pain, to the physical hurt that happens inside me. I hear this news. Out of the love that brings us together, out of the forces for the holy in this world, and in our lives, and in our community today, I want to find a way with you all to grieve what is happening to our earth, rather than go numb to it. Grief is so integral to our humanity that it can be hard to consider how to get there with so many issues happening around our world and just in our country with climate apocalypse. I use this word synonymous with climate change, global warming, climate dystopia, and climate-induced collapse, meaning a predicted scenario involving the global collapse of human civilization and potential human extinction as either a direct or indirect result of anthropogenic climate change. I use climate apocalypse as well, out of a theological sense, that the ways that we human beings systemically and individually must own responsibility for end times. The end times is not something coming down from some omniscient being above us who judges us and labels us as sinners. This is not God's doing, nor will there be an afterlife that we can look ahead to that will save us from our actions in this world and for this time. That kind of theology is probably what got us into this mess first. Rebecca Parker, noted Unitarian Universalist theologian, former president of Star King School for the Ministry in California, writes about radically realized eschatology, which is a fancy word to say that heaven is not somewhere we are going. Heaven is right here and right now. Heaven is in this time and in this place and calls us toward a different relationship with the earth and with each other. It calls us to grieve what is actually happening here and now. And out of that grief, the ownership, that response from our love to the earth, that we can find hope in the call to action that perhaps we seek. It feels to me like we cannot grieve the earth without finding ways to empathize with creation, with this amazing living organism that sustains us, to see our losses line up with the losses of the earth, to see our life cycles and the seasons of our earth shared together. The earth is not something to be managed, stewarded, and controlled. It is the source of our life and sustenance, nourishment, our sense of generosity, and also some pretty extractive farming practices that we engage in. Have you ever had a time when you felt used? Have you ever had a time when someone asked you for something and just came back asking for more and more? I imagine that in those instances, many of us grow angry and resentful. And I imagine that below that anger and resentment is a whole lot of world. Is this all that I am to you? Is this what our relationship is about? I wonder at times how the earth continues to provide for us. I wonder sometimes when large-scale environmental destruction of human life happens, when crops don't grow, when tsunamis take out entire cities, when flocks of birds fall from the sky, the earth is saying, I heard you. I cannot sustain this anymore. The destruction and the extraction has become too much. Something has to give. It takes so much to hold us all, to carry us all. It must feel like a burden, especially in the beings and the creatures of the earth, especially when the beings and the creatures of the earth is carrying, especially when one group of us, namely human beings, do not see ourselves in relationship. Do not honor all of the love and work and outpouring that the earth has poured into our hearts and lives. I share these pieces not to shame you for the things you have done, but rather to lament and grieve with you. I share these pieces because I do not know how we can move forward in the work that is ours to do without first tending to the grief of what is happening, what is happening to our earth. It cannot solely be that we are focused in here, in this community, and what others need to do. It cannot solely be that we are carrying the burden of convincing and cajoling and enticing and persuading others. It needs to be about the work we must do for ourselves and for those we are in relationship with. The work of addressing climate apocalypse must also honor our relationship with other human beings, with our human community, as well as our relationship to the planet and all of its creatures. The impact of climate apocalypse will be felt by all of us, but it is being felt much more keenly in the global south, in places where money and resources cannot protect people from witnessing the death and destruction we are causing. If we are not good to one another, we do not recognize the ways climate apocalypse disproportionately affects those in poverty. If we are out of right relationship with each other, then we have very little chance of making a difference. We have very little chance of survival, too, when the climate devastation we have put into motion runs its course. We need one another to survive. We need all. For that is where the hope can be found. The hope can be found in pockets of people who know what work is theirs to do, and who are able to do that work together. The hope is found here, where we are able to grieve and to rejoice and to find comfort in one another. The hope is found in a group of folks who band together and combine and collaborate to make change, to move the elephant another inch or so over, so those who are held down can also go free. Find your people. Embrace the work that is yours to do. Release the burden of believing you can change or manage or control what other people are going to do. I feel like I need to use that again. Release the burden of believing you can change or manage or control what other people are going to do. Remember that you have the power to make a difference together. Remember that we are stronger together rather than as individuals. Remember that this church, this place and space is here for you to find your people, to do the work with. We may not be able to change the trajectory of where we are going, but we can make a difference in how we get there. And we can make a difference in our own corner of the world right here in Rochester. May we give thanks this morning for the earth that sustains us. May we move towards better relationship with creation. May we know what work is ours to do. And may we find the people who we know we can be alongside as the journey towards justice and liberation continues. Amen. Blessed be, and may it be so. Our final hymn is number 1064 in our teal hymnal, Blue Boat Home. Please remain standing as we extinguish our chalice flame this morning. Let us read together the words printed in your order of service and on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but we keep its light in our hearts, its message of love and justice, taking it outside these walls to the world we live in until we are together. As we close our service this morning, I invite you to place a hand over your heart. If you're joining us online, I invite you to turn your settings to gallery view so that you can look upon the faces of those here with you. For those of us in the room, take a moment to look around at those who are here with us today. May you know that these are your people. May we journey together toward a better relationship with our planet, the Earth. May we grieve and rejoice and take courage and act together. And may we know the work that is ours to do. May you know you are loved and go forth to be that love to whomever you may meet in the days and moments. Let the people of the church say, Amen.
That's great, it starts with an earthquake. Birds and snakes and airplanes. Lenny Bruce is not afraid. I am the hurricane, listen to yourself. Churn world, shift its own needs. Dummies to be wrong, needs speed it up and not speed. Run, don't unknown. Let them change the planet. Planet with the higher. Government's fault, it's ruler of the sun. Government home is spite. Golden coming in a hurry and the fury's breathing down your neck. Team, root, one, Babylon, chop, let go, find that common base, doing us, serve yourself, world, serve your soul, to see your heart, beat, tongue, breathe, telling me the rapture, patriotic, stand but bright, light, sight, it's the end of the world as we know it, it's the end of the world as we know it, it's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine. 6 o'clock TV hour, don't get caught in foreign towers, flash and burn, return, listen to yourself, channel like a new uniform, book burning blood, letting every melody escalate, automotive incinerate, light a candle, light a motor, step down, heel brush, oh, no fear, cavalier, renegade, steer clear, turn lies, offer me solutions, offer me alternatives, and I decline, it's the end of the world as we know it, it's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. And I feel fine. The end of the world as we know it. Keep saying, it's the They're not a Kryptonite, Continental, Trip Divide, Mount Sun, Eveline, Leonard, Bernstein, Leonid, Brezhnev, Lenny Bruce, Lester Bangs, birthday party, cheesecake, yellow bean, boom, Cypriot, patriotic, slam dunk neck, right? Right, it's the end.